Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you, and I'm so glad that you're here as well, because we need to talk about fixing those energy leaks. This is going to give you so much more energy in your life with just a few changes. They may not be simple changes, but they are very important changes, and I'm going to give you one of my top tips for plugging these energy leaks. So think about little things in your life that irritate you. Over the last several videos, we've talked about some of the big things that have irritated us, like difficult people and feelings of not enoughness, or dealing with other people who always are wanting more, more, more. So this might seem a little bit trivial or even lighthearted in a way, but it's so important because it can all add up. So let me talk about what I mean by these energy leaks. And they're usually simple things. For example, but they all pile up. Speaking of a pile, I have a pile of mending that I've been meaning to get to. I have tiny little seams that need to be reinforced. I have something that I would like to be hemmed, and I have a sewing machine, and I actually don't mind doing those things. But here's what happens. Every time I see that pile of clothes, I walk by it, and there's a little bit of I got to get to that. It just drains my energy. It's a little bit of a drain, but it all adds up. I made a list of some of the things that come to mind, and I'd like to hear from you what these common energy drains are in your life. Now, getting the oil changed in the car. My car is older, as you may know, and I like it that way, but it does tend to burn oil. And when the oil light goes on, it doesn't necessarily mean that there needs to be an oil change. It just means that there needs to be more oil added. And every once in a while, I will take it in, and the technician will say, you don't need any more oil. There's something faulty with your light. So it does kind of drive me crazy. And that actually leads to another one of these energy leaks, which is dealing with broken things. This is probably one of the most common. Number one, when it comes to the situation with my car, it's kind of costly to take care of that. I'm dealing with it. But every time I see that little oil light come on, it's like, oh, do I need oil? Do I have to take it in? And I do now keep track of when I've had my last oil changes, but because it's unpredictable, it's just one of those things. Not only is it an oil leak, it's an energy leak. And by the way, I did a video, oh gosh, a long time ago about, I call it my $1 million oil change, because what I went through in my mind was worth $1 million in terms of problems that I could solve down the road and money that I could save. So I do have that in my lineup if you'd like to see that. Basically, the bottom line is taking care of things and not letting it go on too long. So and I'll tell you my remedy for this in just another moment. My lovely girl, Teddy, tends to grow her nails quite long. They grow quickly. And I'm constantly trying to get a pet groomer who can come to the house, because as you know, I am not going along with how can I put it delicately, everything that's required by the vet these days in order to have her be seen. So one of my remedies there is to have the groomer come to the house. And I probably could trim Teddy's nails myself, but the groomer has the technique, they have the tools, it's not that expensive. But oh my gosh, let me know if this has happened to you. If you have an animal that gets groomed, it is so difficult to find a groomer who is taking on new clients and or is reliable, shows up, and or actually does a great job. I did take Teddy to sort of a drop-in groomer, and they just didn't get the nails short enough. So every time I see her and there's click, clackety, clickety, clack on the floor, I'm like, oh, that's another energy drain. And I'm sure she doesn't enjoy it either. So another on my list is keeping up with my correspondence. My lovely Rhonda is at the helm of keeping me organized in this manner. And I'm so grateful for that, because I really do love to correspond with all of my lovely supporters. And there is a snail mail address for you, which is Peggy Hall, 205 Avenida Del Mar, Unit 681. It's a post office box, and that's in San Clemente, California, 92674. And I love getting your letters. I love sharing your letters and cards and financial support keep me afloat, and I often share your messages on my show. But knowing and seeing that piling up of the correspondence that I haven't yet responded to also is an energy leak for me, because I want to keep up on it. One thing that's really common, and a lot of people tell me, is taxes. In California, and maybe it was the entire United States, we automatically have an extension through October, I guess, because of the natural weather that has occurred in California. Everybody got a free pass. So I probably, along with others, have been procrastinating a little bit on that activity. I don't prepare my own taxes, but I do prepare all of the materials to give to the tax preparer, and I really need to get that done. Something else that really bothers me, and this is mismatched light bulbs, or light bulbs that have burnt out, or the LED that are too bright. So I am very sensitive to the light. I have had several eye surgeries to restore my vision, and please pray for me, because it's likely I'm going to have a couple of more surgeries. And I'm grateful that I can see, that I can work, that I can drive, and I want to really protect and preserve my vision. So I'm very, very sensitive to light. I will be covering light in a Healthy American video coming up soon, because there are so many weird things going on with lights. Like the car headlights are super bright. They've got purple lights and other LED lights that I believe, and many of you agree with me, that they are probably setting that up to use for a less than noble reason. So in my home right now, I have a light fixture that has 4 places for the light bulbs to go. And I only have 1 light bulb in there because I ran out, and I only like the actual incandescent bulbs, and they're very hard to find, and they're very expensive. And the one that I have is too bright for the function. So every time I go into the closet, it's like, oh, those light bulbs. Again, I'm going to give you the remedy in just a moment. The proverbial leaky faucet drives a lot of people crazy. It's not that much of a big deal. So you kind of let it go. You're like, oh, drip, drip, drip. And then you're thinking, did it stop? Am I hearing things? And that is really a general expression for all of these little things that add up and drive us crazy. So can't wait to hear and read your comments. Actually, I can't hear them, but I will read them. You can hear my comments, because I'm sure that I've left things off this list. Let's talk about maybe getting the car washed, cleaning out the car. Now, I keep up on all of the daily things like laundry and dishes and taking care of my animals and, that kind of thing. But it's these little tasks that pile up and leave me feeling just exasperated. So I've tried different remedies, and I would love to hear yours. Obviously, one thing is, maybe it's not so obvious, but we can pay someone else to do it. I can take all of my mending to the tailor, and even though it's a little seam that needs to be reinforced and a hem that needs to go in, and I know that I could do it myself, the fact is I haven't done it. And I know it takes effort and time and money to pile these things in the car, to drive to the tailor, to have it all done, and then to pick it up later. I actually did have something done by the tailor it was probably a month or 2 ago. And even then, in the back of my mind, it was like, oh, I need to pick up my stuff from the tailor. So it was another one of those little energy leaks. And that's also goes along with, as I'm saying, paying for somebody to help you or just getting help. So my lovely hubby picked up it was actually at the dry cleaner where I had the mending done. And I was really happy to have it done. And I felt so much lighter, so much freer. It was amazing that simple undone task that was now finished made me feel so great. I have a couple others that come to mind as well. I'm trying to get a pot for a plant. I like to have plants, and you need a certain size and a certain kind. And it's like, oh, I can't find that pot. And every time I see the plant, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking for that pot. So these are the things that they're not earth shattering. They're not life and death. And that's why I said today's video was a little bit more, lighthearted, a little bit of the everyday. And we need that as well. We need to take a break from some of the heavier topics. But it's amazing how much energy this gives you when those activities are done. So of course you can just, so one choice is get help or actually pay a professional to do it. Pay the groomer to come, pay the tailor, bring in an electrician if you need to. And the other thing is to just get help from somebody else who may be able to help you. And another option, which sometimes actually I've done this, is I just sort of delete it off the entire thing. So I might give the clothes away. I've been known to do that. It's like, oh, it's too much of a hassle to hem this or to mend it. And it's had its time and I'm just going to donate it. So I've actually done that. I'm trying to think of something else that comes to mind, but really it's more with clothes or something that's broken that I don't get fixed. Sometimes I feel like I'm just going to donate that. And at least it is an opportunity to give me peace of mind. But here's what I found to be the best of all. I saved the best for last. Get out your calendar, and I want you to plan to fix everything on one day. It's your entire fix it day or your catch up day. And I actually want you to plot it out on the calendar. You might be like me, where you think you can control time, where you can slow down time and fit in more activities into a period of time that's really not reasonable. So what I find is if I actually write it out in the calendar, and there's a part 2 to this, so stay tuned, but I will write it out like 9 o'clock, drive to the tailor, and then, 10 o'clock, stop at Home Depot and pick up the light bulbs. 11 o'clock, get the ladder out or ask, hubby to put the light bulbs in. And I literally plot it out step by step. And that gives me a better idea in terms of how I'm spending my time. Let me know if this ever happens to you, where you have an entire day ahead of you and you think, oh, I'll do that later. And then the day comes and goes and you didn't do it. That's what happens to me when I don't write it down. So write it down. This will also give you an idea as to whether or not you can complete these tasks on that one day. If not, it's fine. Just set another day. Maybe you only need half a day next time. Now, here's the fun part. In that day, you are also going to include some type of treat or indulgence, something that you really love to do. Maybe you love to have lunch with friends. Maybe you like to get your nails done. Maybe you like to have a walk on the beach. This doesn't even need to cost any money. Or you deserve it. You spend some money on yourself. So plan in something that you enjoy as a reward for tackling these tasks. Many years ago, when I was working in an office at the university, and oh my gosh, I had such a stiff neck from, in the old days, you had a phone attached to a cord. I think you remember that. And you would hold it against your ear and your shoulder as you're typing and taking notes. And I would get all these cricks in my neck. So what I would do is in order to prompt myself to get these tasks done, especially the oil change, I would plan to get my nails done and a neck massage after I got the oil change. And it made the oil change so much more enjoyable and rewarding, and you deserve it. Can't wait to read your comments. Thank you so much for being on board. I love our get-togethers here where we can talk about positive actions. Excuse me. I am losing my voice here. But I don't want to miss our get together. Is it legal to cough? Am I going to get a ticket from the Cooties Patrol? Hopefully not. Thank you, friends, for being on board with me. Remember, it's Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. for the Healthy American. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time for Living Swell, all of the tips and tricks to help you and me keep our head above the waves in these stormy seas of life and find brighter days ahead, smoother sailing. I know that's out there, and I'm glad that you're on board with me. See you soon, everybody.